Welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we're gardening here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today I'm going to be showing you how I put together a self-watering container. It's a raised bed container in my side yard. And this is something, it's a DIY project using materials that you can get at the home center. So come along with me and let's see how it's done. The pieces of this video were filmed on different days because the project was done over the course of about a week and a half. So that's why you see me wearing different clothes and stuff. But anyway, so we have this big box in the side of our yard that we had all along intended to be a raised garden container. And we've had it here for a few years, actually. I think this will be its third anniversary of it being on this yard. And we just haven't ever gotten it planted. So this season is the season it's happening. And but with this container of this size, I wanted to be sure to have some sort of self-watering mechanism inside of it. So I did a lot of research online, both blogs and YouTube videos and other websites. And I came up with what I think is going to work really well for us here. And I bet you could do this too. So let me show you the different steps involved. What I'm going to be doing is lining the wooden box with some pond liner, and that is going to make the box watertight. That's very important. The box has to be watertight. And then we'll be using a French drain pipe in the bottom of the container to serve as the water reservoir and air reservoir underneath the soil. So let me just get to it and get this project going. The tools that I need, I think, is just a stapler and some staples and my pond liner, and at the end I'll probably cut it up, cut the edge with some scissors. The pond liner that I bought is 7 feet by 10 feet, and that's perfect for this size container because it's 6 feet long, it's 2 feet wide, and about 18 inches deep. And so this is the size of pond liner that will perfectly fit this and make it watertight, and I'll have a little bit left over to trim off at the end. Inside the box, I was sure to make room for soil to completely cover the bottom. So what I mean by that is that I tucked the liner all the way back into all the corners with plenty of room to spare so that it wouldn't create this like curved corner there. And then the other thing I did was I did a nice hospital corner to tuck in the corners over here. I didn't cut them. I tried not to make many holes in it, although for each corner I did put one staple down in the bottom, but I think that one staple is going to be fine. So again, nice hospital corners, and it's just stapled up underneath the edge all along the sides. I don't know if you can see the staples in there or not. Okay, now I'm just going to trim off this extra. To just tuck this down inside the soil, so that's why I'm leaving this little extra flap. That way I don't have to worry about seeing the raw edges. That'll be under the soil line. So this will just get tucked down and the soil will come up to about there. The next piece of this project is to put in a reservoir for water in the bottom of the container where water can stay and gradually seep into the soil. And so the method I'm going to use, there are many methods you could choose, but the one I'm going to use is to use French drain corrugated pipe that's got perforations in it. This particular one happens to have a nylon sleeve over top of it, and that will help prevent soil from seeping into the pipes. But honestly, that's not really necessary in this application, but I am going to go ahead and use it because the reason I bought this one is because it's super flexible. You can make U-turns very tightly just like that. So this is 25 feet long, which should allow me to do 4 runs up and down all along the bottom of this container. think this costs about $28 for 25 feet of it, if my memory is serving me well. All right, now this has to be pulled apart to be its full length. And you can maybe see the little perforations in there. It's very much like a bendy straw. And I'll tell you what, this is a pain in the booty.
He keeps pulling us off a ledge into deep water.
What'd you do today, Jenny? I fought with a corrugated pipe for a long time.
One of us alone wouldn't stand a chance against this snake.
If I had another person, we could each pull an end. That might be smarter. But here we are.
When he wraps his coils around you, he can completely cut off your breathing.
All right, let's see how I'm doing lengthwise. So I extended the corrugated pipe as far as I could, and I bended it into 4 lengths and laid it in the bottom of the container. And so I think that's as good as I'm going to be able to get it. I wish I had another, 8 inches on either end, but I think this is going to be pretty good. Right, now this end of the pipe, I really don't want soil getting up into the pipe. And since we have this nylon sock on here anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to put an elastic band around each of these ends to prevent soil from going inside these tubes. The next piece of this project is to put in a water input pipe. And I'm using a piece of PVC that I had laying around in my basement. I've cut it on an angle so that when it goes down to the bottom of the container, the water can still flow out. If I had put this flat side down, the water would get stuck in the pipe. And I'm going to cut a hole into this French drain corrugated pipe to accept this coming in. And then the water will go from when I take the hose, I'll put the hose down this pipe, and it will go into the French drain corrugated pipe as the water reservoir input. Now, on the corner, there's a lot of plastic that's all bunched up, and it'll be more challenging to cut. So I'm actually going to come over here onto this side area and cut right there. All right, so that it will be a nice tight fit in there. Perfect. Okay, so the water will be inside these pipes, and soil will be touching the pipes on all sides. And so the soil will wick up the water from inside this perforated pipe, and it will soak up into the garden soil or the container soil for the container. We don't want the corrugated pipe to be 100% full of water, because then the roots will oversaturate and they'll actually rot. What we need is a little bit of airspace inside those corrugated pipes at the top of the pipe. So we need to allow for an overflow drain. So I'm going to be using a piece of garden hose, and I'm going to drill a hole through the side of the box, through the pond liner, and into the corrugated pipe. And then when the water hits this garden hose inside the corrugated pipe, the excess will drain out the side and leave airspace in that corrugated pipe for the roots to have some air circulation. So I'm going to be drilling a hole to accept this pipe through my system. I need a hole into my corrugated pipe. Okay, excellent. Now I have my water fill tube here going down into the water reservoir, which are these 4 lengths of corrugated pipe that are perforated to allow the water to seep out. And I also have a length of garden hose that's going from inside the top of the pipe out the side of the container and out over here. So when you fill the water into this pipe, you just watch to see when the water runs out that hole, and then you know that it is full. Okay, so our self-watering container is done. It is ready for soil to be put in. I don't have any soil right now, so I'm going to have to go to the store and get soil. And I haven't decided what I'm planting in here yet. That's another exciting adventure to come. So for today, this portion of the video is done, but I'll be back very quickly. Don't go away. We'll be right back finishing up this project. The next step in the self-watering raised bed container is to mix up something, a kind of soil that is very, very easily able to wick water up from the bottom up into the upper soil. This soil that I'm going to mix up is not the planting soil. This is just the wicking material. This soil will sit around those French drain pipes. It will absorb the water that's in the pipes and wick that water up into the planting soil. So what am I going to use for this? Well, I think I'm just going to use a mix of peat moss and vermiculite. Now, I had trouble finding vermiculite in large bags around here for some reason, so I ended up buying 4 of these very small bags of vermiculite, and I'm just going to make do with that. So I'm going to get some peat in here, and then I'll mix things together. Now I only need enough of this soil to fill to roughly like a 1/2 inch above the French drain. So it may look like I'm not going to be having enough here, but this I think will be sufficient to cover the French drain pipes in the bottom and have about a 1/2 inch above them, because they do take up most of the room in the bottom of the container. I was aiming for a 50-50 mix of vermiculite and peat, but I didn't get enough vermiculite to make that happen, but this will be pretty close, hopefully good enough. Okay, so I have a beautiful mix of peat and vermiculite here. I would say it's almost exactly 50-50 in terms of volume of each product, so this is great. Now, the next thing, because peat and vermiculite are both very moisture retentive, but they also can be repellent to water if they start out very dry. So I'm actually going to water this and get it a little bit moist before I put it in the bottom of the raised bed, because I don't want, because I want to get this off to a great start, wicking water and wicking moisture. I don't want it to repel the water that goes in first because it's too dry. Okay, I think this is really good. It's got a nice moist quality to it. It sticks to my hands when I pick it up and drop it, so yeah. So here is our container after a couple of days where we've had some pretty good rain. We got leaves in there, we got water standing in there, and some dead cicadas. Oh well, too bad for them. All right, so, but this is good news because what we see is that the bottom is watertight. So that's excellent. So now it's time to put the wicking soil, which is the mix of peat and vermiculite, into the bottom here on top of these pipes. So this part of the task is a little fiddly because I can't get my wheelbarrow back in there. That's okay. Well, that was just about perfect. I have about one more bucket left of this material, and I need to put a little bit more over on this end over here. But otherwise, this is really good. We're covering the pipes by about an inch, maybe a half inch in some spots, and we're down between all the pipes. This is perfect. I'm very happy. Okay, this is the end of my mix, so let's cover up this end a little bit better. All right, that is perfect. We've got all the pipes covered. These will push down once the heavier soil gets on top of them. So yeah, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, so the next and final step to preparing our raised bed self-watering container is to put in the soil that the plants will live in. I've chosen to pick up this organic raised bed mix. So this mix is from Harvest Organics. I got it at Lowe's. And in this mix it has let's see, peat or forest products, and more peat and limestone and chicken litter, poultry litter. And I tell you what, when I was bringing this home from the garden center, my car smelled like a chicken house, which was not all that pleasant. Anyway, so I bought 8 of these. These are 2 cubic feet each, and I think it's going to be enough to fill up my container. So let's see. I might call in my husband to see if he can help me with this job, but let me try one. That wasn't too hard. Let me do another one. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to fill it like all the way to here, all the way across, because I do need to put soil, I do need to put root balls in here. And depending what I'm planting, I'm going to need a lot of room for the root balls. So I think what I'm going to do today is put in one more bag, and then I'm going to make a well in it like this so that my edges are all buried, but I have room in here to plant root balls. And then I'm going to keep those other 2 bags available so that if I have to fill in after I've planted, I will be able to. But I just don't want to be taking soil out too much to have to plant. So that's my plan here. But I also haven't decided what I'm planting in this bed yet. Okay, I think this is definitely full enough. There is a little bit of a dip in the center. All my edges are covered, which is definitely what I want. So the container has got its self-watering mechanism in the bottom. It's got the wicking soil on top of the mechanism. It's got planting soil on top of that. And there's the one last thing I want to make sure that you guys see, and that is filling up the fill tube and how the drain works. So let me pull the camera around and show you that. Okay, this is the drain tube. Water will come out of here once the water has hit the 3-inch mark inside the French drain pipes. It might take a minute, but let's see. Here we go. There it comes. See the water coming out of there? That means that we have filled our tube to the level we want. We can turn this off. And now what that does is it lets air be in the top inch of that tube, and so the roots don't drown. They have access to an air pocket. and yet the wicking soil that's around the pipes can still wick the water up into the soil. So it's a perfect system. I'm eager to get things planted in here and have a beautiful, relatively low maintenance garden bed in the side yard here. Thank you so much for joining me here at Harmony Hills Home and Garden today. I hope that you will try a project like this in your backyard. It doesn't have to be this scale. You can do it on a much smaller scale. But do you have self-watering containers? Have you done a DIY version? Let me know in the comments below what you've done and what methods have worked for you. I'd love to learn because, you know, we all have, probably all of us have more than one container, and so different styles can work in different containers. Thanks again for joining me today. I hope to see you again in a future video. Have a great day, friends. Bye-bye.